Hey everybody, Bones here, Bones Garage, just bringing you an update what's going on at the garage. So, 1959 Cadillac. We have done some work to her. We have found some issues. What had happened with this car is the owner was out on the highway and the motor let go. And when it did, she got stuck out on the big road and was right on the shoulder. So they called the closest company to them, which was pretty far from us, and they brought it to their shop. When they got it to the shop, they told her that the motor's dead, you're going to need a new motor or a rebuild on this motor. So they went ahead and let them do the work, because at that time I was really busy when this happened, and I couldn't get it in for probably a month or two before I can get it into the shop. So they needed the car back to do the shows, to go places where they wanted to go with it. So they had them do the work on it, which was fine. But I'm not sure who did it, and it doesn't really matter to me who did it. But one of the things you have to do, you pulled the motor out, you had the whole motor rebuilt, and then you put the motor back in. Why would they put the old cap and rotor back in? Why would they put the old spark plugs back in? The old oil pressure sensing switch, put it back in. Also, when you're doing it, why not change vacuum lines out so they don't break? You see right there? I got the car because it was running like crap, absolute crap. And this is what I found. This is a direct vacuum line that's leaking right into the intake. And I was wondering why her plugs were so white. Well, now I know that the reason they were so white is because it was running so lean, because there's a vacuum leak right there. And then we have this vacuum line here that's not hooked up to a vacuum, which controls the EGR valve. Now, the EGR valve is controlled by this temperature sensor, and as the temperature sensor warms up, it allows the vacuum to go from this line down into that line to work the EGR. So they don't have either one of those hooked up. They have broken vacuum lines. We have vacuum lines with cracks in it. If you do all that, you took the motor out, did you not look over everything and make sure of anything? We also have, which I don't blame them on, it does happen on these cars. We also have a bit of an antifreeze leak, so I'm going to pull this thermostat out, housing out, and we're going to put a new thermostat in there with a new gasket, because I kind of doubt that they changed that. They probably just put it right back in, right back together with the old thermostat. You really need to change those once in a while. They didn't even clean the carburetor up. They just threw it right back on. Now, I know we're trying to keep costs down and not spend a gazillion dollars, but at least give it a quickie clean with some carb cleaner. And another thing I'm not sure of is the engine let go, so it pushed a bunch of oil into the air cleaner. How much time would it have taken, and look at all that oil, how much time would it have taken to grab a rag and wipe all that up? And look at how hard it is to change that. Wow, that was really hard to change. And I could tell you right now, this is caked. Look at all that oil on my hand now. And I barely squeezed it. So what's the deal? How come? This is the difference between getting a cheap price and getting a more expensive price. You don't get all of the things like this. And I'm going to show you the cap and rotor. You can look inside the cap. See all that white on there? If you look in there, you see all that white on that contact? That's corrosion from the spark jumping from the rotor, which is right here, to the contact, which the spark plug sits right up on here. The contact is right there, the spark plug sits here, and then it runs down to your plug. Well, when you start getting all this corrosion, you lose a lot of your spark. especially when you get it all on the end of the rotor. And you can see how built up it is right in here. Another problem is, and you can tell that is a fairly old button that goes inside your cap. It goes right there in that hole, just like that. Your coil goes, there's a rubber that goes on top of it. Your coil goes on top of that and sends the spark through that. This then rides right on top of your rotor right there and sends the spark to each one of the contacts inside there. What would it have taken to just spend the 30 bucks and get a new one? The car came in because it was running like crap, absolute crap. It was horrible. The idle was just terrible. And then another thing that I found is the timing was way off, way off. I ended up turning the distributor around 2/3 of a turn. So when I started, this here was sitting all the way over here. And I've turned it from there to there to get the timing in. And I can still add a little bit more, but I'm gonna leave it there for now until I get everything else fixed on this car and go from there. So we put in new plugs, we're putting in a new air cleaner, we're gonna clean out the air cleaner, we're gonna replace the breather, and I have one right here, all brand new, $6. It's not that expensive. I already put in a new pressure sending unit for her oil, so it will turn on the oil light. And I can show you the pressure sending unit because it's right here, and you can see how wet it is. And there's the crack right there. There's the crack in it. So what probably happened, which it happens, is when they were putting the motor back in, they had never taken this out. And if they did, they should have just replaced it, but I don't think they ever took it out. As they were putting the motor in, this probably hit something and cracked it. And that's what was pouring oil out of the motor. Because behind that switch right there, your oil comes right out of your oil pump, which is right there. So your oil pump is right here. It comes right over to that switch. So you're getting full oil pressure right there. And it started leaking out and just pouring down the frame. So that's what brought the car in, because what happened was we were at a show when this car had this problem. So we went ahead and I ran back to my shop. I grabbed the plug. We plugged up the hole. I also grabbed the correct socket because there's a special socket that fits on those. We went back to the show, put the plug in, and got the car right back here because she just was not happy. So yeah, a lot of problems here, but we're gonna get them all fixed up for her, get this thing running right, and get everything good. So there you go, guys. Cheap work ain't good, and good work ain't cheap. That's just the way it is. Have fun. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye.